Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Chef Amy Symington, plant and animal lover, cookbook author, and nutrition professor and researcher here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I am also the culinary specialist for Humane Society International Canada, which is why you're probably tuning in today. So I'm part of their Forward Food team, which is a program that helps to support chefs and large food operations across Canada incorporate more tasty, sustainable, animal-friendly cuisine into their menus through things like culinary demonstrations, recipe and menu development, and educational workshops. And it's also free, which is amazing. So today you may or may not have heard, but we have a little bit of a Canadian vegan icon in our presence. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce best-selling cookbook author, the very talented, wonderful, witty, and uber kind Lauren Toyota. Welcome. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Amy. That was a nice intro. And how cool is your job? Like, that sounds so important and involved and awesome.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm so happy that you're able to join us today. I know you're super busy with your new book and your YouTube videos and all the stuff that you're up to. So I'm just going to jump right into our hard-hitting questions here. You have such a rich and experienced background, not only in the culinary world. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, your pull towards the culinary world, and how you kind of ended up where you are today?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, I had like almost a 10-year career as a television host in Canada on Much Music and MTV Canada and some other smaller programs. But yeah, I was doing TV and media and entertainment for a long time. And that was always like my dream gig since I was in high school. And I thought I'd do that forever. I just thought, how could I ever not want to do that? But of course, you grow up and you start, your minds change and you aren't that 20-year-old person anymore that has, wild dreams of like interviewing bands. But it was an amazing time. I accomplished that huge dream. It gave me that first real career job, and it established me as a personality. It established me in Canadian media. And it started, I think it was a jumping off point for just like bigger dreams and ideas. I honestly did not think that I would be in the position I'm in now, that I would kind of transition into. First, I never thought I would go vegan because I thought I could never give up cheese. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur because I didn't think I was smart enough. I mean, I'm just being quite honest. You know how you put your own limitations in your own way. These are just things that I thought. But when I actually think kind of back to my life and the way I was as a kid, I'm like, oh, this actually was sort of meant to be. I remember I used to pretend I was a cooking show host. Like, when you play pretend, I would pretend I was hosting a cooking show, and my sister would be the camera person and like the assistant, and I would be the boss. Like, I was always the boss. So I don't know why I don't know why I didn't think I could be an entrepreneur, because I think that's always been my spirit. The cooking thing was always in me, but like, I don't know, it's also another thing when you don't grow up with certain examples around you, it's not a possibility to you. So anyway, all that to say, I had this wonderful TV career. It really was a launching off point for me to like build my confidence, build a bit of a reputation, I guess, and a name for myself in social media and whatnot. And then when I did go vegan in 2009 to 2010, I was sort of just transitioning, started a blog just so I could write out everything I was doing and like have a diary, like an online diary, for just to stay accountable. And that's where that Hot for Food blog sparked, and the name Hot for Food and the ethos, I guess, of making comfort food and trying to make food that I used to eat but vegan. And at that time, 2010, it was not the world we live in now with all of the variety, all the products. So that's why I started doing what I was doing, because I was just so dissatisfied with the idea of what a vegan diet or lifestyle could look like. So I was out, my goal was just out to sort of change the perceptions of it. So here we are, and I have these two babies here that exemplify that mentality and that perspective. And that's my mission. So I just keep doing whatever comes my way where I can get the word out and, use my talents. Of course, I learned how to obviously be comfortable on air and speak well, things that don't necessarily come naturally to everybody. I can use that to further this message and this mission for living an animal friendly lifestyle, like you said. And it's so important to me. So it's amazing to be able to take something that's important to just my life, but also have it be part of how I make a living and get to spread that around the world. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful that I get to do that.
Wow, amazing. So relatable too. I think I was in culinary school when you were transitioning. So at that time I was vegetarian,
Yeah.
and it was just really tricky trying to make all of, and I was able to, thankfully I had a wonderful chef. I was able to make, he allowed me to make all the dishes vegetarian, which
Thank God. So you didn't have to like carve, bodies and stuff.
yeah,
You didn't have to do
yeah.
that. Wow. Good.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, 2009. So I've been plant-based for almost 16 years, and it was a variety of reasons, including environmental, ethical, and health reasons. But the book, The Way We Eat, Why Our Food Choices Matter by Peter Singer and Jim Mason kind of shoved me in the right direction at that time in my life. What did it for you? Why plant-based?
I have not heard of that book. I'm going to look it up. For me, it was a health thing because I didn't have any like chronic illness issues or anything, but I just felt gross all the time after eating because I was eating dairy and meat and just eating what we're told we should eat. Really experimenting with what to eat was a part of my journey. I see since I was a young adult. So like I did go vegetarian around 12, 13, but that didn't stick in college because I got lazy and I was off by myself and drinking and being bad. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be bad, I'm just going to start eating meat again.
Yeah. I don't know. Poutine for breakfast.
Yeah. But to be honest, it's like looking back, there was always this little nagging voice that was like, you're not doing it right. Like you need to go vegan. I didn't want to do it. But around 2009, I watched Food Inc. So that was produced by Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma. And so I read that book immediately after watching the documentary. So not only was it like, okay, I don't feel good, I have to do something about this. But once I watched Food Inc., I was like, ew, I don't want to contribute to this toxic, corrupt system. And I don't want to be someone who just does what I'm supposed. I've always been someone who's like, whatever I'm supposed to do, I am not doing. And so definitely going vegan was like the rebel move. It was like, if you're telling me this is the standard, food pyramid and these are the things we have to do, I'm going to rebel and do the opposite. So it was a little bit of that. And then Omnivore's Dilemma, like,
so good.
Although Omnivore's Dilemma doesn't necessarily push veganism, but it just allows you the choice to make up your mind. And I felt like I am in this Omnivore's Dilemma, and what am I going to do about it? And for me, it was an immediate make the change and go vegan. So that's where it started. To be honest, although I've always cared about animals and never liked the idea of harming them, it took me a couple more years after changing the food aspect to really hone in on all these other things, the way we use animal materials in our clothing and our other products. So that, and I encourage people to go on that journey because I found it too difficult. I had to compartmentalize. I had to just say, I'm doing the food thing first because I need to immediately feel better physically. And I know I'll eventually get to the place where the food aspect is so important to me. It's like inevitable that your soul and your psyche and your emotional and mental state are going to move in the same direction where you're not going to want to harm animals in any case. So that is what happened. And I tell people, like, it's bound to happen. Like, you can't go on this journey and just like stay at one place. Like, you eventually, your heart starts to open naturally because you're feeding your body such clean stuff.
Agreed.
So I always think of it like this, like, yeah, it's like a holistic thing. Like, it's mind, body, spirit. And if you start with one, the others will fall into place.
Yes, definitely. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Okay. Next hard-hitting question for you. We've mastered all the sauces, burgers, burritos, bowls, mac and cheese, wings. Where do you see plant-based or vegan foods headed in the future?
It's amazing what has happened in just a couple of years. And I don't know when Beyond Meat came out, but a few years ago. And then since then, it's just been at this rapid pace. I was looking at this company redefine meat or something that's like 3D printing meat that I don't understand what that means.
Oh, like stem cell development kind of stuff.
Well, that's like the redefine isn't even doing the lab grown meat. They're doing actual plant-based meat, but it's like 3D printed. So I can't understand what that even means, but it's like we're at that level now. It's almost, we're creating it out of thin air basically. So I'd love to say I like would have some type of smart answer to. I have no idea. I just know that it's
all in the book. It's all in the book.
It's all, well, of course. Like, look, we can still make great food out of plants. Like in this book, I use vegan sausages because that's something I started eating beyond Italian sausages. Mm-hmm. And they're part of my regular diet for me. So they're in the book, and different cheeses and stuff. And it's great because even when I made this book I made it in 2017, 2016, there wasn't, those things didn't exist. So I showed you how to make a sausage from scratch and deli meat from scratch. So it's funny to see just the short amount of time, the progress we've made. So who the heck knows like where it's going? I'm super excited about the direction. You know, I guess the logical thing I'm seeing now is we're able to engineer animal protein, like dairy protein, casein and whatnot from plants. So we're going to be eating completely cruelty-free food, and it will be exactly the same as what everyone's used to eating.
Yeah.
So that's a type of synergy that is how everyone will go plant-based.
Yeah. Taste. You'll be able to recreate that taste without, as you said, without the cruelty.
That gives me hope because if I'm being honest, although I'm proud of everything I make and the food you make, I just don't think that is necessarily a way to convert everybody to the diet. Because, you know, people's brains are accustomed to certain things. And if you can make it really easy for people to make the better choice, then we can start working on the climate issue, which is obviously all the animals and the water use and the toxic, you know, poisoning of water, all that stuff. Like we're able to now tackle the real problem that has presented itself, which is actually far more worse than it was when I started to go vegan, right? So it's like now we have this immediate call to action. So if you can get ice cream and cheese and milk and it's all the same, but just hasn't harmed any animals, then fine. I'm all for that. Like I wouldn't necessarily eat lab grown meat, but if you want to eat meat, eat lab grown meat. Don't eat it from a farm. So I don't know. That's where we're headed. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you mentioned the cheese thing, and even just in the last like 5 years, there are so many, and they're good too. They're not, you know, they don't taste like butane. They're, you know, they melt. There's so many good, really good, decent options. So it's very easy, easy to switch over. Okay, with that said, we're going to talk about next this masterpiece.
Thank you.
Of a cookbook, hot for food all day. Bam! Check that out. Oh my goodness, if you haven't got a copy, please, please, please grab one. But before we dive in, I have to show you something silly first. Is that okay? I'm going to show you something silly. Okay, so this lovely photo of you on the back in this beautiful canary yellow. And I'm going to show you my cookbook.
How did I not realize that? Oh my God, that's amazing.
How amazing.
Look at us. We need to post that on Instagram side by side.
Nothing to see here. Just a couple of Canadian girls wearing canary yellow, cooking vegan food in their kitchens.
I love that, actually. That's awesome. How did I not know
How great is that? I love it. Anyways, sorry, that was just me being silly, but loved it. It was so funny. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the inspiration for your book, okay? So, well, first and foremost, I love everything about this. The layout, how the recipes are organized, the photography, the food styling, everything kind of mixed together just is so unbelievably mouthwatering. My favorite thing, which we've talked about, is how I really enjoy your suggestions, how to reinvent leftovers. So great, minimizes food waste, and also just makes your leftovers sexy, right? Instead of just being like, oh, leftovers. It's just so great and insightful. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's a component of the book I'm really proud of. I like that you will use the word sexy because yes, leftovers are not appealing. We eat them because we have to. If we're not again wanting to worry about food waste, but it doesn't have to be boring or
No.
reheated in the microwave. So
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your inspo. So, for example, my book was birthed out of the idea that eating well together and sharing good food is socially, emotionally, and nutritionally important. The book is heavily researched and based on like evidence related to dietary patterns and chronic disease prevention and management. I dedicated it to my mom, who passed away of breast cancer, and then the author proceeds go to my favorite cancer organization here in Toronto. So with that said, every single cookbook author has a story behind the birth of their babies, and it is like birthing a child. You know how much effort. Like if you check out, and I don't want to show too much, but like some of these stories, like like just so much work goes into, and they're so beautiful. Like the pictures and the food is just so mouthwatering. So I'm just so curious to know what your inspiration for Hot for Food All Day was.
Yeah. Okay. It started out as, okay, I don't want to make a long story, but I tend to tell long stories.
That's okay.
I guess it was like an obvious thing that by the end of this sort of promotion cycle, like it hadn't even been a year, I started feeling this like I have another book. The publisher was asking, they started asking very soon. And I was like, geez, calm down. But then like within a month of them mentioning it, I was like, no, I feel it. I want to do it again. Because it's such a yes, it's hard. And it's like you said, I don't know what it's like to birth a child, but I can only imagine this is some, it's got that same, yes, it has the same pressure. It has the same, then when it comes out, you're like, oh, you're so proud and all of that. So I was like, I liked that whole process. I want to do that again. Which is probably why you have a second baby, right? So it started, truthfully, like it started out as like a Hot for Food hits book. It was going to be like the hits, like the even more than what's in here, just like the popular stuff. But then of course the publisher's like, you can't just put recipes out that are already out. You can put some out, but we need a better concept than that. And I was like, all right, I don't know. But here's the thing, you'll notice, and this is just a publishing thing I've noticed, a lot of authors' second books tend to have this like everyday theme. You see the word everyday being used a lot. So that was what the publisher was asking for. Hot for food every day. And I was like, no, everyone says every day. I'm not doing that. I said, we can do that, but we're not going to call it that. So they sort of pointed me in the direction of make it like everyday easy cooking. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But I was like, no, that makes a whole lot of sense because this was like hits. This was like restaurant worthy, a little more laborious, comfort food classics, like really the bangers. And I was like, okay, well, I infuse comfort food concepts in my everyday, all day eating anyways. So let me just mull on that a while. And like, you always start with a table of contents. So and this may be different than how you operate or anyone else. Like I didn't necessarily have the elevator pitch. Like I loved your whole description of your inspiration. It was so concise and like smart. And I'm like, I'm not that smart. Like I was just like, let me just make a table of contents of stuff I eat every day. Some stuff that was in my what I ate in a day videos that I never actually flushed out. I would just whip them up on the fly. And that was the thing. I realized I had made so many things online on the fly without real recipes that I was like, I need to kind of show people like how to do this, and you have to write it out now and measure it out. So that's where it started. It was like, let me take my recipe concept where I would just wing it in the kitchen on YouTube and what I ate in a day, which had been really popular. And a lot of people were making these recipes just on their own, figuring it out and adding their little twists and whatever. So I was like, let me just compile all that. And then once I did that, I was like, oh, there is a book here. And it's just like how I eat every day. And it is worthy of being published. I used to think some of that stuff wasn't good enough for Hot for Food. Again, just a limitation that I create for myself. So I always have found with both these books that the process for me is very much like, and I my whole life is like this. I set up very solid walls of limitations, and it's my life's challenge to like figure out how to break those limitations down. And that's why these books exist, because I had limited myself so much before, saying I don't want to do a cookbook, it's not a good business move, this and that. I just made up stories. And then I have to like let go and stop the resistance. That is my life's journey. It's this constant thing. So
I'm
I
so
know
glad you did.
yeah, I know I don't have a concise, lovely elevator pitch, but that's just sort of how it
No.
started. That's how it
Yeah.
started. And for me, it is this all, it's this constant flow of this like flushing out of resistance, flushing out of just fake stories I'm telling myself. And eventually, it's like how you chip away at a stone and you get a diamond. That's like me all the time with everything I do. It's like I'm like, no, it's never gonna work. I'm rigid and this and that. And then finally I have to work. It's all psychological for me. It's actually just inner work. It's all inner work. And then somehow I manage to like create outer productivity.
Oh, it's so well organized too. I just love how it's organized.
Thank
Again,
you.
you have to nab a copy. If you don't have one, you have to nab a copy. It's really, really cool. It's not your standard, like, here are your appetizers, here is your salad. I love how it's organized.
Thank you. Yeah, that was for me. I was like, how is this going to feel? Like, is it going to feel like a mess for people? But I'm glad you said what you've said, and other people have given me that feedback. So I'm glad it translates because I've tried to make it like a bit of a choose your own adventure. And a lot of it is almost like read between the lines. Like, I'm like, there's some work for you to do too as the reader. Like, there's a lot of dots to be connected that I haven't necessarily connected outright for you. But if you use this book like a Bible, like I suggest, there's so many ways to mix and match everything in the book.
I love it.
And I haven't necessarily spelled it all out for you. So,
okay. Question for you: what are some of your favorite recipes in the book? Yes. It's a hard one. Hard question.
It's a hard one, but I will say I'll go like chapter by chapter, maybe.
Yeah. I love it.
I really the breakfast is hard. So breakfast is almost like all cohesive in the sense that sure, everyone makes scramble, whatever, easy peasy, but I have taken the scramble and then like leveled it up multiple ways. So you can use leftover scramble, blending it into the omelet, which I really like the omelet, and you can customize that however you like. The breakfast pizza uses leftovers on top of it, and the egg yolk sauce, which is actually like the best version of egg yolk I feel exists out there. And then I love, people who follow me know I love blending. So I've made a lot of, I love the corn chowder. Then we blend the corn chowder into two other things.
It's genius.
You just blend stuff and it turns into other stuff. That's my favorite thing to do. It's like, will it blend, but like slightly different. And you can even go further. Like, again, I'm like, here, blend it with this and that, and you get cacio e pepe sauce. But again, I'm hoping people will become confident and empowered enough to say, you know what, if Lauren did it, I can do it. So I'm going to blend it with some other spices and make a totally different flavor profile for something totally different. So I like these spicy lentil wraps too from the lunch chapter. Again, simple, like lentils are one of my favorite ingredients because I can digest them well. They cook fast. And again, we're not using any pre-made products in this. Like I think sometimes people think, oh, you're using too much pre-made products. And it's like, you can easily omit some of them. You don't have to. And you can use other things like a lentil or a mushroom or something in replace of that. And it's a way to transform a vegetable, which I like doing, right? Same as like with the cauliflower. It's like, let's transform a vegetable that everyone kind of goes, that doesn't look that good.
Level it up.
Level it up. Level it up.
I love it.
The mac and cheese. Okay, one pot mac and cheese, super easy, takes 10 minutes. And then we have 5 ways to level it up into different flavors. Like my favorite, the buffalo chicken mac and cheese.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'm definitely going to try that one. It looks unbelievable.
So good. And then my favorite go-to in the dessert chapter that I make all the time for myself is the coconut pecan biscotti.
Yum!
Oh. And that was a bit of an accident recipe that I happened to nail the first time, which I was like, oh my God, because I don't know why. I don't know how I did it, but I think I was looking at other biscotti recipes and wondering, like, how do I get it so that it's not so crunchy that it hurts your teeth and not too soft? Because I've had vegan biscottis that I'm like, it's not biscotti, it's too soft. I don't know. So I just love that recipe because I felt like I was on something that day, which I was not, but I just felt like there was some magic going through me, and I like happened to nail this biscotti recipe, and I took the photo that's in the book immediately, and it just was there. And then I was like, and then I made it again, make sure it worked. And then I had all my testers make it again. And it just kept working. So I was like, great.
I love it when you nail a recipe because sometimes it takes like 20 times to do. Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm definitely going to try every single one of those recommendations.
Thank you.
But yeah, please nab a copy if you haven't already. And I have my final hard-hitting question for you. What is your advice or call to action to future chefs, current culinary students, or aspiring change makers?
I'll elaborate on my small little thing that I always say, but I try to encourage people. My advice is to just go for it, like just do it. Because I find, like I'm talking about this like resistance and limitations we put on ourselves. I find the biggest thing I hear from people in my life who want to do things, and when I do other interviews, it's like people think they can't. People think, oh, but there's already like Lauren and Amy and Candace from Edgy Veg and all these people. It's like, actually, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, who
More the
cares?
merrier.
You're you, like you're you. So you're gonna have your own unique offering that I can't do because I'm me. So I really just try to encourage people to go for their dream. It sounds idealistic, but like just get out of your own way. Try to quiet those like nagging voices in your head that are telling you not to, because those are not real. Those voices are fake and they're just trying to keep you small. And the only way you're going to change the world is if you're big, you break out of that shell, you let your light shine. And just always remember that like what you are bringing to the table is uniquely you. So nobody else is, it's not the same as everybody else, you know?
I love that so much. Get out of your way. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, I'm so sad to say that our time is over.
Went by so fast.
I know. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time out of your very busy schedule. It was an absolute delight and treat to talk with you. And thank you so much for all of the work that you do for our profession and for the animals.
Thank you. That means a lot. And you too, Amy. Thank you for all the work you're doing. And thanks for having me on this platform to just talk about fun stuff.
Yeah, just talk shop. I'm all about it. Okay, so if you'd like to nab a copy of Lauren's book, HSI Canada, yeah, that one right there, the newest one. HSI Canada are doing a giveaway on Facebook, or you can purchase a copy through your favorite local bookstore or wherever books are sold. With that said, thanks so much again, Lauren. It was an absolute delight. And tune in next time if you're tuning in today. We're doing a culinary demonstration on the 9th of August. So we'll see you next time. With that said, take care, be kind, and be well.
Thank you. Bye.